Hello, everybody. We are interviewing the lovely Vix today, who was also on the Align course. So we're just going to get right into it and find out all the juicy details of how she manifested an amazing house and how she created some space in her world. So I want to ask you, what was it that sort of brought you to Align in the first place? Like, what was it that made you want to do the course?
Hi everyone. um, it was last year for me was quite traumatic. I was working crazy hours in my job. I was averaging about 70 hours a week, which resulted in me having a breakdown. And then sort of end of last year and beginning of this was healing. And then a relationship broke down, a relationship that I've been in for sort of 4 years. And we talked about getting married, and it was very serious, and we'd lived together, and it was a good relationship. We didn't fight, we didn't argue, we laughed a lot. And certainly I think a lot of people have told me since that they were really surprised to see us break up. And after we broke up, I started to sort of evaluate, and I was looking back at the relationship I had with him, and the relationship I'd had with boyfriends before then. And actually, while they were all very different, I started to notice that actually they had a lot of similarities, and the relationships were very, very similar. And it sort of was a bit of an awakening for me. And I was sort of at a point where I recognise this, and I can see there's a pattern, and I obviously need to do some internal work to sort of stop this from happening again. But I didn't know where to turn. And I didn't know where to start. And it was really interesting. And it's funny how the universe works, because a friend had just done some work with Gail, and she'd literally just done one of these videos, and she shared it on her feed. And I was like, that's what I need. I need a Gail. So that was the point where I contacted you.
Wow. I think, looking at your story, I think a lot of people will relate to exactly what you're saying. In fact, a lot of people that are coming to me at the moment, their word is stuck. Like, they literally just feel stuck. Like, they're not moving. And they probably, they do have some awareness of why, but they don't have a clue how to move forward. And so, my whole thing is really about creating the steps that people need, that they can do on a consistent basis that isn't too overwhelming, because a lot of the inner work can feel overwhelming when you meet parts of yourself that you haven't met for a long time, that you've ignored for a long time. That can feel like a big thing, right? But it's actually more overwhelming to keep repeating the same pattern and then end up stuck with no tools.
And just so frustrating as well. I mean, I've got to 40 and I've had the same relationship how many times,
Yes.
I'm ready to not have the same relationship.
Yeah. How many people watching this, put your hands up? Right? This is the thing. Intimate relationships in particular are where our stuff comes up. It's where our shit comes up. It's where all the parts of us that we think we've dealt with come up. And it's where we just, like you said, we pick a new person and they have a different face, but it's the same kind of person. We keep showing up as the same kind of person, because a lot of people are not looking there. They're not looking at what they are choosing. They think they're just getting into it and they're attracted to a different person. But they're actually choosing to be the same person, as in a person who has no boundaries, which I definitely did. Person who overgives, which I definitely did, right?
Person that's definitely me too.
Yeah, right. Or you might show up as a different kind of person. You might show up as a person who's avoidant, where you just avoid confrontation, you avoid looking at emotional things, you avoid speaking. A lot of men do that. Not all men. Some men go into the other realm of can't handle it, so I get angry, as we talked to Stefano, that was his thing. If you haven't seen an interview with Stefano, please go and look. I'll post the link underneath here as well. So yeah, I mean, what you're saying, I think many, many, many people relate to. And you have had kind of like everything happening in one go.
God, you can say that again.
I mean, there's the relationship breakdown, but actually it's a breakthrough because it gave you some space to
Definitely.
start looking at yourself. But you also are running your own business, which you can talk about if you want. And, you know, you're also moving house. So there's everything in the 1 year that's happening, right? Apart from maybe a new relationship, but let's create space for that.
Maybe not quite yet.
Not yet. No, not the time for that. But even like you're looking at relationships with other people, not just within your intimate relationship, but other people in your world, like noticing how you show up. Yeah. And what I wanted to ask you is about, to me, when I look at your biggest learnings during the course, the first one that springs to mind is truth, speaking your truth.
Yeah.
You know? So like, do you want to talk a little bit about that, about like learning to speak your truth?
I think that's probably been one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
I think I've always been very aware of other people's feelings and not necessarily listening to my own. So to speak to someone about, you know, how I'm feeling, and not necessarily what their actions are doing, but what it's making me feel like inside, it's been really difficult. And that's definitely been one of the biggest breakthroughs on the course, to sort of learn how to be in touch with my truth and how to speak the truth. That for me is such a huge thing. It sounds like such a minor thing, but really it's
huge.
Thing. Yeah.
It's huge, because at the moment when you learn to speak your truth, even when you have fear of someone falling out with you, or because I had that, that was always my fear. Oh, they'll fall out with me, they'll hate me, you know. When you learn to do that, what happens is your power switches back on. You own yourself, you claim what's actually going on for you, and then in a way, I'm not saying that there's no fear of what happens next, but it's almost like, because you're so congruent with yourself, that's more important. It becomes way more important than what happens outside of you.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think as a result of it, I've sort of began to value time that I spend on my own more.
Okay.
And, you know, not necessarily worrying about what other people are thinking or what other people are talking about or how my actions are affecting others, which I think is how I've lived my whole life, is, you know, wondering whether something I've said is going to hurt someone. But actually, as long as everything I say is obviously not directly hurting people, but, you know, speaking my own truth and looking after myself, that's, I mean, like you say, it's switching your power back on, isn't it? I just feel so much more in touch than I did prior to the course starting.
Yeah. Yeah, and also when this new relationship happens at some point, you now have like a major key in communication, because most of the time in relationships, we are not speaking our truth. We are hiding how we're feeling. And then sometimes maybe that erupts in an argument, or it comes out as bitterness. So you're like, oh yeah, whatever, you know, it's like not, it's not heart-led. It's like completely head-led, because we're not listening to what's going on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I completely see that you speaking your truth was like a major key, and that it's led to more, how would I put it? Like your energy is calmer. It changed from that point, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying you were erratic and crazy. You weren't.
Can be.
I'm not
after
saying...
a few Prosecco's.
Well, what I'm saying is that, you know, when you first started, there was a lot of fear that was present, you know, and I remember saying to you at one point, I think maybe we were only halfway through the course, where it was like your face had totally changed. You know, like at the beginning, you were like, oh, frightened about how much work there was going to be.
Yeah.
You were frightened about, because you're doing so much, like you're running Greener Beauty, you know, this vegan business that you really wanted to. There's lots going on in your world.
And working full time.
And trying to move because you need this space and all of that. But so there was a lot of questions at the beginning, like, am I going to be able to do this? Is there going to be time? can I focus on it? And there was fear there, and fear around maybe even understanding yourself more, right? Because it seems like a lot of work. Sometimes it's hard, you know, and people are afraid of that. But halfway through, we did a call, and I looked at you and I was like, she totally looks like she's fallen in love. Like your face was all like glowing and your eyes are all sparkly. And I was like, have you met someone? You know, like really, that was what I thought. And you were like, no, I think I've like, you were like, I think I've just fallen in love with myself.
I remember it very clearly. Yeah, no, it was an amazing feeling. I think, you know, we all have our demons to battle, and we've all been through things in the past that sort of shape us into who we are, whether that's for the good or the bad. But yeah, I was very self-critical, not very self-confident at all starting the course. And I feel through speaking my voice, and I think doing the work with, you know, looking at our parents and looking at our ancestry and doing the meditation with the, what was it called?
Which one?
The one where we connected with the ancestors.
Oh, is it the family karma one?
Yeah, oh my God.
Oh,
like
the reclamation meditation is that one.
Yeah.
The one with the, because it's a moving meditation.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my God, that was so liberating. Like I literally did that, and I've never felt so ecstatic in all my life. It was a bit ridiculous, really. Moving meditation in my kitchen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there were just so many different elements to it, and it wasn't just the speaking of my truth, although that was a major part for me.
Yes.
I think it was the whole combination of the whole course. You know, doing the different steps in the order that we did them, which makes perfect sense looking back.
Yeah, because the thing is really, we need to do clearing out at the beginning. So that's why we look at the inner child and mom and dad and the family karma and connecting with the ancestors. It all helps you to understand that you've taken on parts of personality that actually aren't yours, because ego drives itself down a family line, right? It's not just that we take on, like, you've got your dad's nose or you've got your mom's ears, whatever, right? You've also taken on parts of their personality and their ego, because they're teaching you based on who they show up as. And if their ego is very present, which for a lot of people it is, then you're going to learn that, and you're going to learn how to be. And we need to start looking at this and stripping back and saying, well, actually, you know, even though I think my dad's a horrible person, for example, my mom still had some responsibility there. You start to broaden your view. And then you say, oh, actually, I've taken on these traits of mom and dad. Some of these aren't so becoming. What ones do I want and what ones don't I? And then once we strip that, then we can connect to something beyond that. Let's clear that. Let's connect to the ancestry and actually just own the fact that we're here as catalysts. I don't think there's anyone that I can think of who is not a little bit different in their family who's come to work with me. I'm always saying I work with catalysts, people who come into the lines to help transform the line. It's not just about us. It's about transforming the family line so that we actually completely up-level humanity, which sounds, okay, I'm making it like massive now, but that's really what it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because I've always had a close relationship with my younger sister. But in doing the course, we've spoken about it, and it's funny because she's been on a similar journey to me, and we've had some really deep conversations, and I think it sort of bonded us to have a deeper relationship, which is amazing.
So cool. So cool. So I want to ask you, so I was going to say what's the first changes you started to make, but truth speaking really was that. But is there anything else that you can share that you felt you made early on?
Just trying to have a little think now.
That's okay.
Because honestly, there have been so many changes. I think probably the biggest one, and I think this was probably about the same time as the truth speaking, was I think I always valued myself based on what other people valued me at, and whether that's physical, So, you know, a lot of unfortunately, a lot of what my, I don't want to say it and upset anyone, but a lot of what my family do is based on how much money you earn and how big your house is, and
Yeah.
you know, what your financial value is worth. And I think all my life I've pretty much said that's what I'm worth. I live in an X size house, and you know, I earn X amount, and that's my worth. But it's not, because my worth comes from in here. It's not this, and it's not what other people perceive me as. It's what I believe I am and what I show up at. And I think that was the biggest thing. And I think through doing that, I sort of stopped looking for validation outside and started to only validate inside.
Yes. Beautiful. And the thing that you said about like your family kind of dynamic, well, that's what I'm saying about that will be something from generations ago. So it's not your mom and your dad, it's not your grandparents, not the great grandparents. It started long time ago, probably through some poverty. And it started there, and it's fed into the collective family ego, just passes down. So actually you are a point of change for that. It's no one's fault. I'm always saying it's not your fault, it's just your default. It's just their default. That's it. But it's not blaming anyone, it's just witnessing what's there and saying, okay, wow, I see this thing going on, and actually that's really unhealthy for self-love, and it's really unhealthy for where I want to get to next.
Yeah, you know? Definitely. And it's really funny because when I started the course, I mean, you mentioned about the house already.
Yeah.
When I started the course, I was sort of toying with the idea of moving, because obviously I've just come out of this relationship and I've lived in this house for 10 years and I love this house, but it is only bricks and mortar. But I have also lived here with two men now, like long-term relationships. And it was feeling a little bit toxic, and it wasn't really working anymore for the next stage of my life. And I suppose doing the course has sort of given me the confidence to make a decision into what my next step of my life will be and what direction I want it to go in. Where I think before, if I hadn't have done the course, I'd probably still be sitting there looking at houses on Rightmove and go, do I move? Do I stay? I don't really know. I love the house, but I don't know what to do. But it's sort of giving me that confidence in my own truth, because I'm speaking my truth and I know what I want to do and I know how to get there. It's sort of, but
that's what I mean. It's more connected. Like, you're more connected when you speak your truth automatically as soon as you start to do that. And I want to put out there as well, for those who are wondering what I mean about speaking your truth, I'm talking about speaking your deepest truth to yourself first. And then if you need to speak it out into the world, then you do that with compassion. It's not vomiting anger or frustration or disappointment over other people, because what we're actually doing is taking responsibility. So we learn where we have responsibility with ourselves. And then when we speak our truth, these parts of ourselves that have been talking for years most probably hear us honoring them, and we start to kind of coagulate, is that the word, together? Like, we kind of pull ourselves together. We're sort of, instead of being lots of different parts of self, we're now becoming one and whole. And that's why it feels much more in integrity, you know, feels much more solid when you say to yourself, okay, now I can make a decision, because you actually mean it. You know, there's not so much fluff.
I think it's really liberating as well, because since I started speaking my truth, I have been out drinking a few times, and I've had men approach me and ask for my number, and listening to my truth, I've said no. And I think in the past I would have just given them my number out of politeness, because that's who I was. But now I'm much more in touch with what I do and don't want. And meeting someone who's drunk is definitely
So we did do a little bit of work on that. It was a bit like, where are you meeting people, honey? Oh, I see. Let's not do that. I have to say, and we spoke about this, that you're not the only person that does that. In fact, I think most people do that. Most people use a little bit of Dutch courage, or like you were kind of like, in a way, sort of waiting to be seen. Like, oh, some guy will approach you in that state. And then, like you said, you'll give him your number. You're not consciously choosing that person. You're not consciously asking who that person is.
Yeah.
And you're not even conscious of who you're being in that moment. So anyone out there who goes out, look right at my camera, and gets drunk to meet a partner, and if you want a conscious relationship, stop right there. Don't do that. Go for coffee instead. Do your list. Oh, we did an amazing list. That was great.
God. Did we ever? And it's really helped to clarify things as well, because I've been on dates since and gone out and had a coffee instead of a beer or a Prosecco or whatever, and sort of walking away being sober and having been able to sit there and go, okay, you know, maybe you're not quite not quite what I want. Like, you're a great guy, but you're not my great guy. And being able to speak that truth, even if it's just to myself, has been so liberating.
Yeah. It's amazing when you start doing that, because things start to shift. You start to see that actually maybe those relationships that you were in previously, you just chose them because they chose you, which feels kind of icky. You know, it's like you didn't really go, oh, you are amazing, or you are someone that I can imagine spending a lot of my life with. You're maybe just falling into it. So the list that we did, we originally called it the man list, which I didn't like. I changed it to the lover list because men need lists too. And the list, we really worked on making it juicy, like really making it something that you could feel. Because when you write a list like that, it should not be, even though you had on there certain things that were like, oh, he needs to look this way. We sort of turned that around, which is fine because everyone does that. But we turned it around to say, look, instead of the focus being on that or what he does, some people do that. Like, it has to be someone who has money, has his career together, whatever. It's not helpful. It's more helpful to do the list on how this relationship makes you feel, what it actually provides, what you provide, like growth, for example, right? A lot of people forget that. They don't put that this should be a growing experience where you completely connect with one another and you help to, I still like the word heal at the moment, but you know, it's maybe appropriate in this sense, right? You create a space where you can be yourselves, you know, and you can learn to trust yourself more, and they support you and that kind of thing too. But we juiced it up to create the feeling, so that when you meet this person, you go by the feeling and the action that appears, not specifically how the person looks or what they do as a job, kind of thing. You know? Yeah, you're looking definitely at me like, yeah, you're thinking about it now.
I'm thinking about that list. Honestly, it's like one of the most beautiful things. Every time I read it, I'm like, ah.
See? Exactly. And then law of attraction, that's law of attraction in action. You meet the feeling, you create the feeling. Law of attraction is not just about, oh, I must get into the vortex and into alignment, and you don't know how to do it. You learn the steps, right? There's not many people talking about the steps to get there. So let's learn the steps and then create the feeling, you know?
Definitely.
I want to ask you, what was your favorite week on the course? Do you have one? I mean, we've actually covered quite a lot just in that short time.
Yeah. Probably the thing I enjoyed the most was the moving meditation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was one of those weeks where I don't know if everyone else got it as much as I did, but honestly, I just, like, for me, it was one of the best things I've ever done. It was honestly, it was so fun. Like, I just felt pure joy afterwards, and it was just the movement and the joy and the liberation, and the connection, I suppose, to ancestry. Like, for me, that was definitely one of my favorite weeks. I mean, but every week's been amazing, and every week has changed in a way that I couldn't have foreseen it. And I think like you shared one of my comments saying, oh, this is only 8 weeks in and you've already changed my life. Like, every week has been like that, like every single week.
Amazing. I'm so happy.
Me too.
Let's be in love.
And let's not repeat the patterns of the past.
Oh, that's the whole point. This is the thing. We're so programmed and we don't know it. We're so conditioned. And then we look at our world and we say, why does this keep happening to me? It's because of you. It's because of something within you, right? And it's not something within you that is broken. I need to say that. No one's broken. You just don't trust yourself and you just don't know yourself. So you have to get to know yourself in order to trust yourself. And then, as you clearly said, then when you make a decision, there isn't that panic or there isn't the doubt so much. You know, you might have fear, because everyone has that. You know, I have lots coming up around fear and love at the moment that I will start sharing. But basically, fear is not necessarily a bad thing. It's trying to create a boundary. It's asking if you're really parenting this situation. It's asking, are you capable? That's all it's doing. But if you become it, then and you look at your past and you say, well, I keep picking the same people, or I keep not choosing the house. I keep looking at whatever, right? There's fear that's holding you back. Then you're still running a little bit of that subconscious programming. So it's just about clearing it, really, you know? What was your, I mean, again, you said a lot, but do you have like a biggest takeaway that you could talk about? No?
One. You just want one. There were honestly,
there were them all.
So many. Yeah, I couldn't possibly name one. I think one thing we haven't talked about is the manifesting.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's played a big part in my journey, I think. You know, like you say, manifesting the house, which is not the house that when I first started looking, it's not the house I thought I'd end up in, but it's absolutely perfect. Manifesting an award, which I haven't yet, but I will be in a few weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I think manifesting, it's something that no one really does, but it's such a powerful thing. Just to focus on a goal, whatever that goal is, and to put it down, visualize it, think about it, focus on it. It's just
in alignment.
In alignment.
Because one of the things that we do on the course is we start to do a vision board quite early in. Not totally straight away, but quite early. And the thing with it is like really looking at clearing the subconscious programming. So when you put the things on the board, you're not carrying that old programming, because anyone can make a vision board and they can look at it. But for example, say you have a vision board where you have like your perfect relationship. You have this perfect guy or girl on the board. If you are running a program where you still feel unworthy, it doesn't matter how much you look at that vision board, because the program looks at the vision board, you know, this little inner child that doesn't love itself and says, oh, I'd love to have that, but I'll never really have it, you know? So what I was aiming to do was really get you guys to start placing things on the vision board incrementally in steps, and really focus on each of the steps so that you were fully aligned with it. You're more integrated as you go along. So when it gets to the juicy stuff, you've already done some of that clearing work. But again, what I noticed with you was, it's like, as soon as we got to that point where you looked like you were radiating in love, all these things started to happen, you know? And the other thing I want to talk about is within the realms of manifesting the house, what I saw in you that was super amazing was that the point where, okay, you talked to us in the group about how you've manifested this house, right? And you're like, amazing, I've manifested this house. Like, you know, it's actually like the house, like I'm gonna, you know, like this house is so good. It's like near this Bluebell Woods that you had put on there, you know, on your board. You're like, I want this house near Bluebell Woods. Like, that's your dream. Yeah, it's
and
really
it had sea views and was near the downs. Like everything on my vision board was there.
Everything, right? And then, you're like, it's fallen through, right? Now at that point, anyone who's listening would go, oh, it didn't work. You know, anyone who's out there going, law of attraction doesn't work. And we had a whole conversation around, like, you know, the fact that this is falling through. But your demeanor was totally like, it's going to happen, right? It might not be this house. There's another house. There's a better house, right? If it's you, I mean, you still had a bit of like, oh, you know, crap, you know, and a bit of fear. But generally, there wasn't that Vix that I saw in the beginning, which was, oh, you know, I don't know what about this, and not been able to make a decision. You still were adamant that this was happening. And it was aided by the fact that you decided that you really wanted to win an award for your business, and you created the award in your mind. And then you get a message about being up for this award that you created in your mind. That is crazy.
I literally couldn't believe it when I got that email. I was like falling off my chair, like, what?
Absolutely amazing. And 2 awards, I think.
Yeah, I've been nominated for 2.
Yeah, what are they?
Best Vegan Startup and Best Vegan Gadget for my app.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what was the one that you created in your head? What was the one? And you put it on the board, didn't you?
Yeah, it was actually Best Vegan Online Business.
Okay.
So I think that one's still in there. That's still to come. The Best Vegan Startup will do for now. Actually, that'll do for now, you know.
Both amazing.
Yeah. I mean, just to be shortlisted is amazing, because there are so many vegan businesses launching now, and so many of them are really good.
Yes.
So just to have my name up there is quite an accolade, really.
Yeah. But it's almost like, you know, because these things are coming back to you, you're seeing that this works, right? And so you don't freak out now. You're like, you're not doing that. There's no need anymore. There's no need to be like, oh, Gail, I don't know if I can do this. Oh, what will I do? Like, where that person's actually left the building. Yeah. Like, really left the building. Like, you are so at peace and so calm. And so, like, your energy just feels kind of like giggly and serene at the same time. I'm not sure how to, how to put that, right? But, like, connected to the wonder in you. And then, you know, then tell us what happens with the house.
Well, it was really weird, actually, because I mean, I was looking at 3-bedroom houses at the time, and then my estate agent sent me this 2-bed, and I was like, I'm not sure about 2 beds. Like, I'm not sure it would give me the space I need for the business. But I thought, do you know what? Like, I'm just going to start looking, and I found this house, which is in my ideal location, which the other one wasn't. It was a beautiful house, but it wasn't in my ideal location. And the house is perfect. It gives me perfect space for the business, gives me perfect space for me, perfect space for my 2 cats. You know, it's got everything I need. And the funny thing about this whole situation is, when I was looking to buy the house last time, when I had the offer accepted on the other house, this house was actually under offer. The one that I'm now to. And it was a guy that was buying it to rent it out, and he didn't realise that stamp duty has massively gone up for people buying second properties, so he pulled out, and it went back on the market 3 days before I looked at it.
Wow.
So it was, I honestly believe it was like the universe aligning, you know, this is the house you're meant to be in, but it's not available now, so we'll give you a little decoy and then pull it back in. So yeah.
What is it about this house that you feel is a better fit for you?
I mean, obviously a big part of the move and a big drive for the move has been the business. So, you know, as you can probably see behind, I've got lots of products. I go and do lots of festivals. I'm constantly on the go. And at the moment, I'm sitting upstairs in my house, and when I go and do a festival, I have to pack up all these bottles and then carry them down the stairs and then carry them out the front and then pack them in the van, and then I get back and I'm knackered and I have to unload the van and carry the boxes back upstairs, and they're bloody heavy. And certainly from a business point of view, everything's going to be flat. So I can literally just unload the van onto a little trolley, push it into the office. You know, there's going to be none of this heavy lifting and lugging about. So that's going to be much easier. But in terms of space, like, the house gives me exactly what I want. And I don't know if I've told you this, but the best thing about it is there's this, it's a bungalow. I'm moving to a bungalow. I've actually turned 80. They've done a loft conversion and they've created this beautiful master suite, which I love. But there's also this really tiny little loft room. And most people would be like, what am I going to do with that? And I'm like, I'm going to create a meditation room.
Amazing.
It's like a little, when they say you're meant to meditate in like a womb-like room.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Okay, which actually then brings me on to something that I said I wanted to talk about, but I've mentioned a couple of times,
Yeah.
which is, aside from all these amazing things that you've, like, you know, manifested, and learning to speak your truth, and like, and falling in love with yourself. I mean, there's so many things that have happened to you, it's unreal. But one of the main themes that kept coming up was creating space, like continually, like really for weeks and weeks. The main message really was, Vix, create some space for you. Like, please take time for you. And on the meditation week, one of the last weeks we do is really learning to meditate and be with self. You really flourished in that moment. Again, another up leveling. You know, you became more productive and you were more connected again. And there's, even now, there's still this little theme about space. So I find it really interesting that not only did you manifest this house that's much more ideal than where you're at, and maybe even more ideal than the ones you were going for before.
Oh, definitely.
You know, that this now has a room literally for space.
Yep.
Like, literally for space. Can't believe it. You know, it's crazy.
I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing it's just 3 months, but 3 months that has totally changed my life.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was really hesitant, like you said, before I did the course. So do you know what? I'd go back and do it in a second.
I mean, well, I was just going to ask you, what would you say to people who are thinking of joining? You got there before me. Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, I mean, the meditation was such a huge thing. It's one of those things, like, all this year I've been going, do you know what? I'm going to go back to yoga, and I'm going to do yoga again. I'm going to meditate more. And it's just one of those things that, with working full time and running my own business, I just haven't had the time. And sort of just taking out, and I don't meditate a lot. I probably should do more, and I will.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm sort of doing 10 minutes a day, and just those 10 minutes, which is nothing, totally changes the mindset of the day. And sometimes I do it in the morning, first thing. Sometimes I do it just before I go to sleep at night. But it's just an incredible practice that just sort of gives you 10 minutes where your brain just stops, which for me never happens.
Well, the thing is, you are living a life that many of us are living. You know, you're doing multiple things. And I absolutely see that nowadays I always say, actually, especially with women, I see this pattern more, where there's this belief that we have to be everything. Like, we have to be the nurturing mothering kind of person, or we have to, you know, be the sex bomb, or we have to be, you know, like an entrepreneur, or we have to be at least, you know, kind of doing really well in our career. Like, we have all this pressure.
All of them.
All of it.
Yeah.
All of it, all the time, actually. Like, it doesn't really switch off. So that's why for you, especially because you were running your own business and working full time, you know, it's really necessary to create space to connect with your feminine energy. Because when we're doing, you know, it's not about being masculine, but it is about masculine energy. It's very do and take action, and we have to solve problems. We have to create. We have to make something happen in the 3D, whereas feminine energy will allow you to say, actually, let's connect to my intuition. Let's connect to my body. Let's connect to my inner guidance. Let's stop driving all the time, because when you drive all the time, you're literally blinkered. It's like horses on the racetracks, blinkered. They only have one point of focus, and the universe cannot deliver you anything better. Like your house, the universe delivered you something better because you trusted, because you created space. If you hadn't created that space where you're allowing that to happen, you would have freaked out and gone into a flap and been devastated, but you didn't, because you'd already created the space.
Yeah.
You know?
I think as well, this has been the theme of our sessions, hasn't it? A nice little cat coming along.
Hi, Phoebe.
I think one of the things as well with doing regular meditations, it's just meant that I'm much more in contact with myself. So I've sort of had some really great ideas and really massive breakthroughs just as part of meditating.
Amazing. Is this about work or in your life or about yourself?
I think with a bit of everything, to be honest. Like, there are I've got lots of plans afoot for next year, and a lot of them have come about through meditating.
Amazing.
And yeah, just things that come up really. I mean, I do struggle to meditate. I'm sure it will get easier. I think it's been about 5 weeks.
Yeah,
5 weeks.
So. Yeah.
And my mind does still run off with me, and I have to bring it back. But I suppose, you know, with time that will get easier, and it's definitely getting easier as time progresses.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get jumped on by a cat mid-meditation. That's always a challenging one.
Well, she's so cute though. You can't get angry about that.
No, definitely
she's so
not.
Sweet. The thing is with the meditation thing is, I think people make a mistake a lot of the time in meditation where they think that they have to shut the mind off. I find it much more helpful to just allow it to be there, whatever it is, and then to just connect to your body on a deeper level. You know, that's why a lot of people will focus on the breathing. You know, as we're taught in mindfulness, is to really focus on the breath, because it puts more emphasis on the body than it does on the mind. The mind can do its thing. It's going to try and do its thing anyway. But when you connect with your body more deeply, that's when everything like starts to settle, you know?
Definitely.
Because you're meeting your body. So definitely that. But again, it's still all about space. Everything's still been about space. And I reckon that we just talked just quickly before we started recording about next year. And, you know, you've said that you have these sort of plans now, these ideas that you have about next year, which I'm sure you're going to add to your vision board, and I'm sure are going to manifest, because your manifestation skills have switched on so easily, you know. I reckon next year is probably more about you building tribe and more connection, but not until you've fulfilled your quota for yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely about tribe next year, and I think that's something that I'm already aware of. And I'm excited to see where it's going to lead me, to be honest.
Yeah. I can't wait. I've absolutely loved working with you, and I've loved like befriending you, and I've loved your energy. I love your giggly, like heartfelt space. It's amazing. We've laughed a lot. Our ones we have. I mean, there's been some times when you've been tired and whatever, but that's life, you know, or you've been a bit stressed. But generally, I have to say, like, you really went for it. You know, you really did. And I am actually in awe. Even, you know, for me, I'm taking the course, but I'm in awe of your manifestation skills ramping up so quickly within 3 months, you know. Well, actually less than that, because they started halfway through.
Yeah.
It didn't take you long. So I can't wait to see what happens next.
No, it's really exciting. And it's been such an incredible journey, and I'm so glad that I took that journey with you. I think it's so funny that you appeared on my timeline at just the right time, because I was so ready.
Yeah, we've talked about that. The thing is that, you know, I set an intention for those who were going to come work with me to be people who were so done and so ready to step forward. Like, in order to really do the inner work effectively, you have to be a person that is right here, right now, saying, I need to make change and I'm ready to do it. Because otherwise, when you step into it, your ego wants to backtrack, you know. So if you're a person listening to this and you resonate a lot, you know, of what Vix is saying, then get in touch with me. We can do a free 30-minute session. You can see what I'm about. We can pull out some things that are, you know, sticky and stuck within you, and start to look at where you need to focus first, you know, and do that.
You're an amazing person to do this work with. Like, it's been such a good journey. And I've really enjoyed, I mean, I think just doing this course is an amazing thing, but the fact that you're leading it just takes it to a whole nother level. Like, you're so in touch with yourself, and you're so open, and you're so honest, and you're so lovely. Like, it's just been great.
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. We are in love.
Maybe we are. Let's run away.
Well, you've got a spare bedroom now. You've got a meditation room. We're all set.
Well, I will in a few weeks.
So yeah, awesome. Well, we're definitely going to have a girly catch up for absolute sure, and I cannot wait. Like I said, I really mean that. I can't wait to see what happens in 2019. Like, It's going to be big business for you, I think, my love, in all areas of life.
I am ready.
Woohoo! So we'll leave it there, but thank you everyone for joining us, and I will be doing another interview with Cole Want, who was also on the course. But thank you, Vix, so much for sharing. I've loved your journey and I loved your story, and I send you lots of love. Mwah.
Right back at you.